What if I told you that what's coming isn't just another recession? It's something much deeper, far more destabilizing, and unlike anything in the modern economic era. Most people believe recessions are the worst-case scenario. GDP falls, unemployment rises, markets crash, central banks intervene. And then, eventually, things recover. But what's coming doesn't follow that script. This time, we're not just heading for a downturn, we're walking into a prolonged economic breakdown, where the safety nets that saved us in the past simply won't work anymore. And the terrifying part is that almost nobody sees it coming. It's not because the data isn't there, but because the truth is just too disturbing for most people to accept. You see, economic recessions are temporary cycles. What we're facing is a systemic erosion, a fundamental decay. We're talking about the collapse of trust in our money, in fiat currency itself. We're talking about record global debt, now exceeding $315 trillion, a number so large it's almost meaningless. We're witnessing a demographic implosion in major economies, with shrinking populations unable to support the promises of the past. And most importantly, we're at the end of the 80-year financial cycle that powered Western growth ever since World War II. Think about that for a moment. The entire world order that has defined prosperity for generations is now fraying at the seams. This means your job is no longer safe simply because you're skilled. Your savings are no longer protected simply because you diversified your portfolio. Your future is no longer guaranteed just because it used to be. We are in the endgame of a financial system that was built on artificial money creation and exponential debt. The prosperity we've experienced over the last 4 decades, it wasn't all natural, organic growth. A huge part of it was engineered through relentless, unsustainable borrowing from the future. Every single past recession was fixed the same way, by lowering interest rates and injecting massive amounts of liquidity, printing money into the system. But here's the trap. Today, interest rates cannot go much higher without completely breaking the system, because the debt load is just too massive to service. And at the same time, rates cannot go much lower without triggering runaway, uncontrollable inflation that would destroy the value of our savings. Governments are trapped. Central banks are out of ammunition. They've used all their old tricks, and now they're facing a problem they can't solve with the same old tools. And history is crystal clear on this. When monetary tools fail, an economic correction doesn't just happen. It turns into an economic reset. What's coming is not a pause. It's a reckoning. A fundamental revaluation of what everything is actually worth. Consider this. The biggest asset bubbles in human history in real estate, in tech stocks, in the general stock market, even in the bond markets, which are supposed to be safe, are all sitting on a foundation of artificially suppressed interest rates. They were inflated by cheap money. If any of these assets were to be repriced at the real, true cost of capital, they would collapse almost overnight. And here's another thing that makes this time different. For the first time ever, more money exists digitally than physically. This means your purchasing power, the value of your bank account, is at risk of vanishing faster than you could ever hope to withdraw it. The safety of our banks, our pension funds, our insurance companies, all of it is based on mathematical models that assume normal cycles. They assume a return to the mean. But nothing about our current situation is normal. If you're still watching this, do not click away. Because in the next few minutes, you are going to discover what 99% of people unknow until it is far too late. This video isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to prepare you. Because in any great shift, there are losers, but there are also winners. The future belongs to those who understand what is happening before it happens. So if you want more content like this, the real truths that you won't hear on the mainstream news, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments below and answer me this. If everything you believed about financial safety turned out to be wrong, would you change how you live your life today? Stay with me, because what comes next will change how you see the economy and your place in it forever. To understand what's coming, You have to understand what always happens when empires reach their final financial stage. History doesn't repeat, but it certainly rhymes. And right now, we are hearing the echoes of the late British Empire in the 1920s, the Roman Empire in the 4th century, and the United States is eerily mirroring the Dutch Empire of the 1700s. All great powers, without exception, end the same way. It starts with financial overextension, then comes currency dilution, followed by deep internal division, a loss of global influence, and ultimately, a painful restructuring forced by a crisis. But here's the critical difference this time. Unlike past cycles, this crisis will be global. It won't be contained to one nation or one region. Why? Because for the first time in human history, every major economy on the planet is interconnected by a complex web of debt, instant digital transactions, and centralized monetary policy controlled by a handful of institutions. The world is entering an era where inflation won't just be a number you hear about on the news. It will fundamentally change how civilization itself functions. Think about it. When the cost of living consistently rises faster than wages, people don't just become poor, they become desperate. And desperation is the spark that ignites historical turning points. It was the fuel for the Great Depression. It drove the Weimar hyperinflation in Germany. It triggered the collapse in Argentina in 2001 and Lebanon in 2019. Every single time, the story is the same. People trusted the system until the very last moment. The problem is, most financial warnings come after the collapse has already happened. And by then, it's far too late to do anything about it. What's coming isn't just another recession. A recession is a cyclical correction, a predictable downturn in the business cycle. This is different. This will be the forced liquidation of unsustainable promises. For decades, governments around the world have been making promises they can no longer keep. They cannot continue to fund massive social programs, public pensions, artificially low interest rates, corporate subsidies, and enormous defense budgets all at the same time. The math simply doesn't work. Difficult choices will have to be made, and it will be the citizens who feel the painful consequences of those choices. And as if that weren't enough, we have another unprecedented force multiplier: artificial intelligence. AI is poised to eliminate millions of mid-level, white-collar jobs far faster than new industries can be created to absorb that displaced workforce. This isn't about robots on an assembly line. It's about algorithms that can do the work of accountants, analysts, project managers, and even content creators. This will create a social and economic shockwave, particularly for younger generations who will find themselves inheriting a mountain of national debt instead of a world of opportunity. Meanwhile, the very foundation of the global financial system is being challenged. The US dollar, once the unquestioned symbol of economic strength and stability, is now facing a coordinated challenge. De-dollarization efforts are accelerating, with major economic powers like China, Russia, and the expanding BRICS nations actively creating parallel systems to trade outside the dollar's influence. This isn't just a political statement. It's a strategic move to reduce dependence on a system they no longer fully trust. We are moving into a decentralized world, whether we like it or not. Power is shifting. It's moving from governments to algorithms, from traditional banks to the blockchain, from highly regulated markets to autonomous trading systems. In this new landscape, those who adapt will be the ones who survive and potentially thrive. Those who keep waiting for a recovery or for things to go back to normal will be left behind, holding on to a system that no longer exists. So, the real question isn't if we will face a profound economic transformation that's already in motion. The real question is, who will be prepared when it arrives? This moment in history is a great dividing line. It's the educated versus the uninformed. It's the adaptive versus the dependent. The winners of this next era will be those who acquire what I call survival intelligence. This means learning how to protect your assets against the silent theft of inflation. It means learning how to build income streams that are resistant to automation. And it means learning how to leverage the power of decentralization instead of fighting against it. This video marks the beginning of your preparation. This isn't about fear, it's about foresight. In our upcoming episodes, I'm going to break down step by step the practical actions you can take before this shift accelerates. We'll cover everything from asset protection to new skill acquisition for the digital age. Don't wait for the mainstream media to confirm what's happening. Their job is to report on history after it's been made, not to prepare you for the future. If you want to stay ahead of this monumental change, make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications turned on. And I want you to remember this one crucial idea. Recessions produce victims, but paradigm shifts produce leaders. The only question that matters is, which side will you be on when the financial reset begins? Thanks for watching.